Hi everybody, my name is Zach and welcome back to the Broken Spectrum. I'm unfortunately not here with my co-host today. It seems that our last show involving Harry Potter got Josh's lady a little mad at him, so it looks like he got forced into a marathon of Harry Potter just to show him what the movies were really worth. So we'll have to check back on him on another time. But to start us off though, we're going to go into our news segment to start us off. This is Fragments. So today, we were given a new release at the San Diego Comic-Con at what the new Sith Trooper looks like. Made by Hot Toys and will also be released as a series black figure. I apologize. Couldn't think of what company was doing it, or the brand name that was doing it. But yes, we're gonna get, hopefully, they're showing an early release of what the troopers look like. But if you take a stormtrooper of the First Order and turn him red, upgrade his armor, and give him a really cool blaster, you pretty much got the Sith Trooper in hand. Though what's nice about it is it's a nice homage to, if any of you are Knights of the Old Republic fans like I am, then you'll know that the Sith Trooper was a shiny, very sleek, metallic soldier of the Sith Empire during the times of Revan and Malak. The nice thing about this is that it pays homage to the red commander or sergeant of the Old Republic during the Sith times that served under Malak that we got to fight against. What's nice about seeing this is that they're going into a direction that really pays homage and really looks into the Knights of the Old Republic era of things, which we haven't seen a lot of come from Lucasfilms and, LucasArts in a long time. Since the 2003 and 2005 release of Knights of the Old Republic, when we actually got to see the other side of it, which for a long time wasn't canon at first, but from what we understand nowadays, that Revan and Malak and Bastila, they're all part of the continuity now, which is great. I think we needed more of that, because I feel like there's more untapped potential in the history of the old era of Star Wars. Not saying that there's not a rich lore and history in the current continuity, but the problem is we know the story of Anakin, we know the story of Vader, and if you think those are two of the same person, then you need to go rewatch the movies. But the thing is that we know that story already, and we're still learning about what's going to happen next with Kylo Ren and Rey and the fate of the Resistance and the First Order. We're going to find out, hopefully, we're going to know a lot more and find out a lot in Rise of the Skywalker, because we all know The Last of the Jedi left us with a lot to be desired, unfortunately. We're hopefully going to see, in my opinion, I would like to see more of the things that we got to see in Knights of the Old Republic. Like, and I am such a fan of this game and that franchise and that era of things. It is undoubtedly the coolest Star Wars lore I've ever delved into, and you can ask any of my friends that I'm an absolute freak about this era, because I know so much involving Revan and how I think Revan, by the way, has one of the best backstories of any Jedi or Sith that's out there. With that being said, now to get off topic, back to that Sith Trooper. If you played the games, you know that the Sith Trooper in the red form, not the silver one, if you guys know what I'm talking about. The red one, it looks very close to it, not too much closer. I won't go down that road of the technicalities. Basically, the only thing they share is the red and the name. But the fact that they're doing that at all shows that we got good promise by Lucasfilms to delve into more of the Old Republic era, and hopefully we'll see more of that, because they've already announced that they're going to do more with the Old Republic. They just don't know what it is exactly yet. They're not really revealing anything. But here's to hoping. I mean, I think we've earned it as fans of Star Wars. I think we put up with a lot of stuff that came out, and the diehard fans now, here's the thing. When it comes to Star Wars, and I won't go too far into this because this will be a subject for another time. But just to briefly say, I liked the Clone Wars. I liked the 2003 version, and I liked the 2005? Either way, my point is that it was a good series. And I don't see a problem with either one of those, even though one's been, canceled out as canon and one is canon. Both series were great. I enjoyed it. Rebels, not so much. And with Star Wars, I believe it's Resistance, with the flying of the spaceships and the pretty terrible animation, if you ask me. I know it's directed towards the younger audience, but when you think about the people who grew up with Star Wars, I know you got to adhere to all audiences, and it is for all audiences. I'm not judging on the demographic at all, but the idea that a lot of us who's been in here for the long haul, especially the ones who went to go see it in 1977 when it first came out, and they're all looking at, we know the classic story, we know all of this, and then you got my generation who came in during The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Those are the movies we grew up with, but we acknowledged the original three, and we embraced the original three as our go-to Star Wars. Everything that came afterwards, we were all excited when we got, The Force Awakens is coming. And it's like, they haven't made a Star Wars movie in a long time, since Revenge of the Sith, or was it Rogue One? Either way, I'm getting into the Star Wars, and I apologize. That's I'm going to have my co-host help me out on that one next time. But I just think we have really gone through the ringer when it comes to stuff that's bad and poorly made and not well thought out. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. There might be something like, I really like the Resistance cartoony thing. I watch it with my kid, or I watch it with my little sister or little nephew or niece, whatever the case may be, and they love it, and that's fine. If it's catered to their audience, then that's perfectly fine. I'm not a fan of it because I just don't see the point of it. It's like Rebels. A lot of people love Rebels. They loved Rebels for a lot of different reasons, and once again, I won't delve into all those reasons. I apologize if you're looking forward to me talking more on that, but I will say that it left something to be desired. You had really good characters that could have grown in the series, that could have done so much and had that character growth that we all look for in the characters that we cherish. But instead, it's like if Ezra, if Ezra wasn't in the scene, then it wasn't worth trying. It's like he had to be there with every single person that was part of his crew, or part of the Ghost crew, I should say. And that to me is such a lazy way of doing things. And yeah, I'm going to say it was lazy. You can't just have a character tag along to every adventure. Not every character can be a part of the action. Not everyone can play the game. You got to have someone on the bench while they go discover themselves, or they discover a truth about themselves. That is what we call character building, ladies and gentlemen. That right there is the primary focus in character building, is when they have to go do it themselves, when they have to do it by themselves. But I digress. The nice thing is that it's San Diego Comic-Con, which is only a week away at this point. And actually, by the time this episode comes out, it'll already be closer, or if not already in effect. That the Black Series will, of course, be $32 at the Comic-Con, which may also be the initial price for, like, if you're going to San Diego, you're going to be at San Diego, that's going to be your price. The nice thing is that the Hot Toys version of it, which comes with interchangeable hands and over, if I'm remembering correctly, about 5 to 6 different guns. And when I say guns, I should say that there's about 3 guns, an executioner's, what looks to be an executioner's weapon, and a sword, along with a pistol that goes right at the hip. Those are really cool, and I love the attention to detail always with Hot Toys, and This one, you'll be pleasantly surprised that it's not going to be $400. As an Iron Man fan myself, I know that that's very difficult to get a proper Hot Toys figurine, especially when it's die-cast, and not be $400 or higher. And that's being very mild with the price, because if we ever taken a look at Hot Toys and their infinite collection of the highly detailed, we know that they are, some of them, if not all of them, are worth the price that they're made of, or they're made for, I should say. But with the Sith Trooper at the San Diego Comic-Con, it would be $234. Now, most Black Series that I've come across have been $20, $22, $25. So having seen that the Comic-Con one is going to be $32, I'm assuming that's of course going to be like, oh, if you're here and you want to buy it, you can. There's only limited amounts of what they made for the con. But the nice thing is, if that's what it costs at the convention, then the one, whenever it gets released for both of them, that 32 will drop down, hopefully, and that 234 or 243 will also drop down. So we're looking pretty good for, and this goes out to the collectors out there who love everything in their Star Wars collection. I've got a couple. I've never owned a Hot Toys yet, but I'm looking forward to. But I'm certainly going to make it an Iron Man one, if you ask me. But having a Sith Trooper does raise the bar a lot for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next after that. Sticking with the Star Wars side of things, coming to Disney, or rather D23 Expo, which is another Disney convention that they hold. It tells about any kind of new things that are coming out involving anything that's under the Disney franchise, which in this case, they're sticking with the Star Wars theme, and this will be for The Mandalorian that's coming out. And if you don't know, The Mandalorian is an entire show series dedicated to a Mandalorian, that bounty hunter. It's a Mandalorian and a bounty hunter, I know, shocker. That is after the Empire has already fallen. I believe they even said it's before the First Order, or maybe even during. We don't know many details about this yet. But from what I know so far is that they're going to have the guests come on stage for the presentation, apologize, to offer a glimpse at the bounty hunter himself and his travels to the outer reaches of the galaxy, far, far away. I'm quoting that from an article. So here's the high hopes that we're looking for. And if you want to see The Mandalorian, unfortunately, it's going to be on Disney's new streaming app. If you're a person who watches Netflix or is on Netflix, uses Netflix, then you know, much to my dismay as well, that all the Marvel movies, Star Wars shows, and anything under the Disney name has been pulled. I know there's some things that are still on there that either will go away soon or will maybe on there indefinitely due to rights and all that legal stuff. But the nice thing is that the Disney streaming service will only be $11 to $12 a month. It's not awful. Or actually, I think it's actually less than that. I believe it's actually maybe even $7. But either way, I know it's a manageable figure, and it's not too bad. It won't break your bank, I promise you. Because I know I'm going to do it, because I know two things are coming. If you've been keeping up, you know The Mandalorian is coming, which is a great opportunity to watch that show and see where that takes you. And with the director Dave Filoni with it, as well as Jon Favreau. If you don't know who they are, please look them up. They are your Clone Wars creators, which is nice. They're going to be headlining this whole Mandalorian project, which honestly, it's going to look great. I mean, the armor looks great. He looks like a new age Mandalorian, which this goes back to my Knights of the Old Republic rant just a minute ago that involved those Mandalorians. And if you know about those Mandalorians, you know that those are Neo-Crusader Mandalorians. The nice thing about how that transfers onto the new one is just that now that we have an established, this is a Mandalorian, and we knew that from the Clone Wars, it kind of gave us a a sneak peek into a Mandalore that we weren't probably prepared for. And let's be honest, if you are a KOTOR fan and you know what Mandalore was and what the Mandalorians were supposed to be, this warrior race that it wasn't just bounty hunting. It was like after the Mandalorian Wars, the Mandalorians became bounty hunters and assassins, whatever they could get whatever job they could get their hands on at the time after they lost the war. Now, once again, I apologize. I'm going into, I'm falling back into that rant of Star Wars, and that's not what we're here today about. With that being said, The Mandalorian looks really good. I wish we knew more about it, but unfortunately, that's all we know at this moment. Is that we're gonna see a sneak peek that's gonna give us a little bit more detail at the D23. It's gonna be on August 23rd, which is on a Friday at 3:30 p.m. and I'm sure they're going to have some kind of live streaming event where we can watch it and see it for ourselves and give it. Honestly, if you don't want to see it live, then give it time. It'll be on YouTube in no time. Like most things on the internet, go figure, right? And that, with that being said, the last little piece of information that I've got on that note is one last piece of Star Wars. I know it's a Star Wars news week, but there was a lot of things that happened in that realm. So this is why we're covering it now. And I know we've talked about it in the last couple episodes, but Star Wars has been in the headlines, guys. This is what it is. You're not going to hear me complain about it. I love it to death, and I know a lot of you out there probably love it just as much. So that's why if it makes the news, we're going to talk about it. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we're going to add that in there. Even if we've been talking about it for a long time, we're still going to throw it in there. But with that being said, the last little bit of Star Wars news and news altogether that we have for this episode is that coming to Galaxy's Edge, the theme park in Disneyland and soon to be open in Disney World, Galaxy's Edge we talked briefly about it in our previous episodes, that it's a theme park totally dedicated to Star Wars. It's supposed to be an outer rim world, which is like on the far reaches of the galaxy in the Star Wars universe, where the people can come in and live their Star Wars story. You can buy costumes, build your own lightsaber, which is a great experience from what I've seen. I'm hopefully going to be able to enjoy that come Christmas time, maybe. That'd be amazing for that to happen, because it opens in August, and really, let's not fight the lines on that one. Let's not get crazy. It's going to be August, it's going to be hot, and it's going to be crowded, and it just opened up in that month. So we're going to avoid that altogether and just wait a couple months and go then. But getting back on topic though, one of the rides at Galaxy's Edge is known as Rise of the Resistance. Now, Disneyland, who's had their park open for quite some time now, still does not have this ride open. It probably has a lot of bugs and kinks they got to work out, but also look at the space that they have versus Disney World. Disney World has much more land to work with than a parking lot sitting on Sunset Boulevard. No offense to everyone in Disneyland, but with the recent news in your area, we're going to avoid Disneyland topic for now. But with Disney World, theirs is actually going to open up first on December 5th, which, if you don't know this, guys, December 5th is Walt Disney's birthday. So this is a good time to open up a new attraction, and what better attraction than Rise of the Resistance? This ride will take you through the rise of the Resistance itself, how they grew and how they are, and how you're going to escape from the First Order. And if those of you who are for the First Order and like the Stormtrooper look, maybe this might not be the ride for you, but it's definitely something to experience, or maybe give you a new perspective on, hey, or a newfound glorifying reason to justify the First Order. But like I said, that's another detail for another time. But the nice thing about the Rise of the Resistance is that you're going to start off in a tram like any ride would. You're going to buckle in, and they're going to take you through like you're being captured and questioned by the First Order, and then you're going to stage a prison break type of scenario where you're going to run from the Resistance and run from the First Order and get the hell out of Dodge. The nice thing well, actually, with the cool thing, the really, really cool thing is that this ride is not an over and done with within the next 5 minutes or whatever. No. It will be 28 minutes. And you heard me correct. That is not the wait time. It's not 2 hours of a wait time. It's not 1 hour. It's not a wait time. That is how long the attraction will last. There's going to be a large group of people with you when doing it, but it's going to be a 28-minute experience, which takes you through a good portion of the park that's being built, and it takes you to the Resistance camp. That's where it's going to end. And the Resistance camp has got like these scale ships of A-wings and X-wings, and I believe Poe Dameron's X-wing is going to be there as well. So a lot to look forward to when it comes to that park. And if you don't know already, like, look into it. Like, do some research. Look at some people who've been to the park in California. Watch some YouTube videos on that. It's going to blow your mind. And for those of you who are classic Star Wars fans and know and want to see a life-size version of the Millennium Falcon, well, now is your chance. If you live closer on the East Coast, then you're probably going to want to wait until August to go to the one in Disney World. But we'll soon find out. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope everyone else is. With that being said, let's get started with our topic of the day. And that is, in recent games, this is what we got, and this is what we want. I know that sounded a little jumbled, but let me clarify. So, recently, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, if you're a fan of the game, has recently come out with Ultra Pack 1. And what that means is that your DLC now has Super Saiyan God Vegeta and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Evolved Vegeta, along with Ribrianne, one of the fighters from the Tournament of Power. And I know we switched gears from Star Wars to anime, but I'm sure you guys can pick up pretty easily on this, that when this pack dropped, it was met with a lot of mixed reviews. Now, a lot of people were very happy at the fact that we got God Vegeta from the Broly movie, which we first saw him in. Fantastic movie, by the way. It's excellent. If you haven't seen it, I recommend going out, buying it, and watching it. Also, this channel and this podcast supports Vic Magnan, so there's that. I'm just going to say that right now on my behalf and on Josh's behalf alike. So it was a great movie. I recommend it, and I hope the best for Vic Magnan on that. But getting back onto it. So, giving you a little quick history, not that much of a history. The game is a sequel to the original Xenoverse, where you create your own Dragon Ball Z character. I say Z, but it's really your Dragon Ball character. It's not really in the Z era of things. You become a time patroller, which your whole job is to set the timeline correct. You travel from the very beginning, where Goku fights his brother Raditz. You go into Vegeta, Frieza Saga, Cell Saga, Buu Saga, and then depending on where the game goes or the game reaches, you could go into more of the Super Saga going into Xenoverse 2. I never played the first Xenoverse, unfortunately, but I hear that the one thing I have noticed is Xenoverse 2 definitely has a lot more to offer than its predecessor. So the nice thing about Xenoverse 2 is that you have full customization over your character. What moves they have, and all the moves that you get are all moves that the characters have used, or some unique moves that you've never seen this character use before, but it's all cool all the same. The recent pack, and the thing is, to relate it back to the topic of what we got versus what we want. Now, a lot of people like the idea that Vegeta was part of it. One thing that drove everyone up the wall was the fact that we got Ribrianne. Now, Ribrianne, I don't know 100% about this character, her history, her universe that she comes from, but we know that she's a magical girl, like most anime involving magical girls. You know that this is a Sailor Moon-esque way of looking at it, a little parody version of that. And the thing about Ribrianne is that nobody wanted her. Nobody wanted her. To this day, I don't even want her. I'm playing the game and I didn't want her. They made a whole parallel quest, which are little quests that you go on to get costume items, super souls that help your character in battle, and even new moves that your character can use in everything else. You have to earn it by doing these parallel quests, or PQ, as they say it for short. The thing about Ribrianne is that she was such an oddball character. Out of all the characters you could have given us, of all the variants of the characters you could have given us, you gave us a character that I guarantee not a lot of people wanted, or really even cared for that matter. Her original form is, and I know this may cause it itself, but you have her original form is a very small, petite girl, magical girl, if you to stick with the theme of that. And her second form, she gets really fat. And I'm sorry if I'm not being correct with anybody, but that's just the way it is. She gets fat, and that's her second form, which makes her really strong. And she was a very formidable opponent in Super, but the problem is when it relates to the game, it's like, okay, well, what about all the other people that we fought in the game? Like, where are all they at? Why aren't we fighting them? Where is Kaelin Khalifa. Sorry. I can't say her name right. So basically, cauliflower, or Khalifa, as you're supposed to say it. But instead, we got the fusion version of them, and which is Kefla. My rant on all of this is that when games come out nowadays, they give you a DLC. Now, most DLC you're going to have to pay for, which is not uncommon nowadays, and most of us have gotten used to it. But the thing is, though, the DLC, if we're going to break off for a moment and talk about DLC to me is something that after the game is fully finished, it is something that adds an extra little something to the playability of the game. It adds a little bit of detail here, a little bit of detail, just some added fun on the side to a completed game already. Now, you could argue that Xenoverse 2 has sometimes done this, sometimes not, but then if you're talking about games in a grander scale, no, that is not the case. You guys know, and I know what games have done this, as far as they create a game, but they don't finish it. And you know it's not finished because when you're done with the missions, when you're doing the story mode, it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on, wait a minute, what happens next? What comes next? What's the next big thing? And then when they come out with the next big thing and you pay for it, you find out that, wait a minute, this part of the game could have been in the original and it would have been a completed game. But instead, you charged me again for something that should have already been in there. And like I said, a lot of you know what games there are and what ones I'm referencing to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to I don't have a list ready for everyone to cross-reference to make sure, oh, did he mention that? Did he mention that? No. You guys know, as well as I do, my collection in Xbox games is vast, but we all know what fell short. And we talked about it in our last episode, as a matter of fact, Anthem. Anthem is another version of this, where they did it right in telling us that, hey, we made a game for this. This was something that we did. But the problem with Anthem was that you cut it short. You got through the story, and it was great. But then when you were waiting for the next thing to continue it was okay, well, it's not. Why didn't you just add that in already? Or why didn't you hurry up with it? Or you didn't add enough story to the story mode? But once again, I digress. Going back to Dragon Ball, the game itself is technically completed, but the problem with it being completed the way it was done was that it felt like a copy and paste of the first one. Now, the only reason, I already said, to not sound like a hypocrite, I did not play the first one. But I asked several people that I play online with, what was the first one about? And it sounded, if not exactly like, the very first one, minus the final enemy. You changed the final enemy, but you still kept the same villains. It's like fighting Team Rocket from Pokemon. You know that they're going to lose, and they keep showing up. It's like they're showing up for comic relief, and this is only the second game. And you're like, oh, we're fighting Toa again. And it's like, Toa was technically in the first one, but realistically, you're fighting her again, but she just has a new lackey who becomes the primary enemy at that point. And then they added in Few, and that changed the whole dynamic entirely with, oh, no, it's different, but we're going to wait a long time before we give you Few, and that gives you all these new abilities and all this new storyline that you can try out on. Which is nice, but here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that when they introduced Few and they introduced a whole new storyline, you introduce the fact you actually try to combine or bridge the two sagas of Dragon Ball GT, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't mention that. Let's go nowhere near GT. And Super. Super, if you've been following along, is in short, it's when Goku and Vegeta surpass their Super Saiyan power, and after training with an angel, get the power of a god and become Super Saiyan gods. Now that's cool. If you saw the movie, you understand that is. But that's pretty much your. How do you say it? It's pretty much how you can sum it up. Is that it's a godlike Super Saiyan ability that they earned, and I'm not even going to delve into the story of that. That's just as far as power level and seeing their next transformation. That's what happens. In GT, you see Goku and Vegeta become Super Saiyan 4, which is the next line of power that they have as a Saiyan. And I know I'm going into the Dragon Ball history of all of this to talk about a game, but my point in saying all that extra stuff is when you give us a game like this and you give us a little bit of extra stuff, yeah, it's fun and we all enjoy it and we thank you for it, but there's still so many things that we wanted you to do. Like, one thing that everyone will probably agree with me on is that they haven't fixed the netcode. We're still having problems with that. And not to mention, a lot of people try to avoid, and I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there that do one-on-ones, online fights with everyone, and that's the way they do, and that's fine. I love watching them. I think it's really funny watching these fights go down. But for me, that's the fun is where you get to join in with your friends and do a story mission together. But that's me though. I'm not super competitive, and I just like playing the game for what it's worth. And I know that's probably just a cop-out of saying that I suck at multiplayer or against another fighter. You may not be entirely wrong. You probably could beat me if you met me on Xenoverse 2. And I wouldn't hold a candle, but that's just me though. I'm not that competitive at that. And yes, I've had my fair share of rage moments like most people have at disrespectful finishes. But more or less, we wanted more from the game. Like, a lot of people are like, okay, so we got, for our characters, one of your transformations is becoming a Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan. The blue hair. The blue power. Like, oh, that's really cool. Everybody wanted that. When it came out, it got boring so quickly. It was sad. It's like looking... it's like being in a desert. It's like, okay, you've never been to a desert before. If you've never been to a desert, I'm saying, that you go there and like, wow, it's vast. It's hot. It's kind of nice, but after an hour, you're hot, you're sweaty, and this is getting boring because everything looks the same. Same thing with Super Saiyan Blue. It's cool for the first 30 seconds, and then it just kind of dissipates away. This will happen with the evolved form of the God formation, transformation, and knowing that it's how do I say? I don't know. I feel like I don't know the right word that you would describe it, but it gets boring, and eventually it will. The hype will go down for it, and everyone's gonna be like, okay, what's the next pack? and everyone will be up in arms. What's the next pack? Like, wait, hold on, we just released the first one. Yes, you gave us 2 of the same character with 2 different transformations, and a character nobody wanted. By the way, if you wanted Re-Brienne, then you were the minority in this. You're the ones that wanted it, and therefore you were very much the minority. I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now, if you disagree with me, please don't mistake me. You are well entitled to your opinion. You don't agree with what I say, that's fine. But this is the whole point of all this, is that I want everyone to take a moment, take a breath from your anger or acceptance of what I'm saying, and think about it from the opposite perspective. If you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, well, then that's fine. And you can come up with an argument saying, well, Zach, this is the reason why they do things. This is the reason why they added Re-Brienne. Or, hey, Re-Brienne's a great character. She's OP in this field, and her attacks are really cool and all that. And by the way, her attacks are full of love. She's an irritating character. Let's leave it at that. Her attacks alone are very OP, and I guarantee there will be a patch sooner or later that dumbs those powers down. They just want to juice up their character, just like what they did with Anakin in Battlefront 2. You gave us the Chosen One, you gave him 4 force abilities, but you made him so strong no one could fight him. And that's a problem. That's where things get complicated. And now everyone's screaming at the top of their lungs, you need to nerf this person, you need to nerf this ability, you need to, and that's fair. That's how you grow as a game. That's how you learn from your mistakes. You're like, oh, maybe we did make her too powerful, and then we're gonna dumb her down. That's fine. The circle continues the same way. Something happens, something gets done, people complain about it, it gets fixed, or it doesn't, which is most likely the case, or they take forever to do it. Whatever the case may be. But it just blows my mind that you give us a game that has so much potential and ability to be more than what it is, and you give powers that are not accessible to our characters to the story-driven characters. And to me, I feel like if you're going to have us be able to earn the abilities and powers, whether you buy them not with real money, good God, we don't want to go down that road yet. You can either buy them with the medals that you earn from the parallel quests, or you can earn them other ways, but with the money that you earn in game. And that's one way to get your skills, and that's one way to get your items that you use in battle, and that's fine. That's with any game. That's with Skyrim, with Fallout, with Halo, with like you get items and you make yourself stronger, healthier, better, faster, stronger. But with this one, it's there are some abilities that are not present for your character. To give you an example, there's a charge. I know it's just a charge. It's not really an ability, but when Ultra Instinct Goku first came out, and everyone lost their mind, like, oh my god, it's Ultra Instinct Goku, it's really cool, it's awesome, it's great. He has a charge, and the charge is really cool because your character gets into, well, not your character, but his character gets into a spread stance where his feet are spread apart, and his arms are at his sides. You know, that classic power-up Super Saiyan stance without, arching your back. And it's really cool because it really shows, like, you're channeling that power. And it's not available to your character. Not yet, anyway. There's still hope for it. But I know it's such a minor thing, but if you're going to make things available to our characters for full customization, make it full. Really show off that full part. And as far as the different characters that we could get and the abilities that we could have, it would help if you just give everything at once. This goes to say that when you're a Saiyan, when you play as a Saiyan, because there's different races. You could be a human, you could be a Saiyan, you could be a Namekian, which if you know Piccolo, that's his race. But of course, if you know Piccolo, you already know that. And a Majin character, which is Majin Buu, the pink fat thing, or if you're the female Majin, you're kind of more of a petite sexual form. Or the Frieza race, which not quite sure. I think it's just one gender for that race, but I digress. Anyway, bunch of pointy reptilian-tailed alien things. But in any case, when you're playing as a Saiyan, you get multiple transformations because, yes, shocker, the game is called Dragon Ball. What has Dragon Ball always focused on? The story of Goku, the Saiyan raised on Earth, Vegeta being the new front of that later on in the story, Raditz, his brother, being a Saiyan. It's all Saiyan focused. So they all get transformation. The only reason I say it like that is because there's been complaints from people in different articles and different YouTube, YouTube commentaries, that why does the Saiyans have so many transformations? Why? Great, they have another transformation. What is that? The 17th transformation? Realize something for a second. The only reason your guys don't have another transformation is because your characters aren't so centrally focused on like the Saiyan is. Same thing with the humans. The humans, you could do Kaioken, and if I'm not mistaken, it's unlock full potential. And to me, that's enough. You're human. You're not Saiyan. You can't go Super Saiyan in a human form. That'd be ridiculous. But with a Saiyan, you're given God form. You're given the evolved form of God form. My question is, where is basic God form? You're giving us a character that is able to transform into anything. And I know the people that I referred to just now, don't they have enough transformations? No. If you're going to include the transformations of your people, of that race, include them all. If you gave us the ability to go God mode, it evolved God mode, and Vegeta's the only one to achieve evolved God mode, then why not give us... I'm not saying you have to give us Ultra Instinct, because we all know that's an OP thing entirely, and that's going to make a lot of people rage even more than they are now when they fight others. A lot of disrespect coming your way if that happens. But give us Super Saiyan God. Give us that red hair and red eyes. Like, why would you skip over that? Same thing with Super Saiyan 4. You introduced Super Saiyan 4, Goku, Vegeta, and Gogeta all in the update that involved Fu being the son of Toa, and from the very first villain that you fight in that game. And my whole thing is, why did you not give us Super Saiyan 4? You sound like you don't know how it's going to work. You add the transformation in there, you change the cosmetic, you make us look what you look like when you transform into one. You don't need to do something special about it. Goku had to get a tail. You can make the prerequisite, you must buy a Saiyan tail, be level 95 in order to turn Super Saiyan 4. Makes sense to me. Same thing with Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan Blue, but using Kaioken. Like, if Goku could do it, it's like, well, why can't I? And you can't say, well, only Goku can use it. That's full of crap. Vegeta doesn't use it for the reasons that he doesn't want to emulate his rival. He doesn't want to be or learn from him. That's why he doesn't have Super Saiyan 3. If you really want to get technical, it's because Toriyama forgot about Vegeta in a lot of different cases, but that's more of that's really on the nose technicality rather than a lore. I'd rather stick with the lore because it's more fun that way. But with Vegeta, you get stronger. He gets stronger in his own way, and he skips levels. But they said, okay, well, it doesn't make sense that Vegeta has a Super Saiyan God mode, a Super Saiyan Blue, and not a God form. That made no sense. You skipped over it, but he's got to have a God form. That's one form you can't skip over. He can skip over 3. That's fine, because he's got Super Vegeta. That's fine. No one cares about that part. That one made sense for its own reasons because he's just strong in that sense. But when you give Goku the ability to go blue in his base form, as a character that you can select, and then have him be able to use Kaioken feels a bit of a cop-out. Like, you could have thrown him in with the other 1,700 different Gokus that you can play as. My thing is, if you want to make it work, Bandai Namco, and I'm looking right at you I know a lot of people have been complaining towards you and probably sending you nasty letters and emails, and I've been commenting on your forums very negatively, especially recently. Probably a lot of them applauding you for what you did, but most of them, I guarantee, are still negative. I guarantee you're going to want to start listening to people, but what I'm trying to say is, here's the way you make it work. Make it a Super Soul. The Super Souls you've proven that the Super Souls can do a lot of different things to alter your character and alter the fighting style. So, here's an idea. While Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Blue, which I'm going to start referring to as Super Saiyan Blue now for the rest of the show, is that as long as you have that equipped, when you transform, you're given the ability to go Kaioken in your ability box, right where it would be to transform. You can do it. I don't know the finer details. I know someone would say, like, oh, you got to leave one skill off so that way you can go back to your base form if you don't want to go into Kaioken's form. It's like, okay, that's fine. Or if he goes underneath the recommended amount of stamina or health or ki, whatever the case may be, then you don't get that, and you don't get that option. But you can make this work. You can make this work. Exactly, and I'll repeat myself again with the Super Saiyan 4. Make sure you purchase the Saiyan Tail, or make sure you have the Super Saiyan 4 chest and tail costume piece. Like, I don't know. Like, I know that doesn't make any sense to have the chest piece if you're going to transform into it, but it's so easy, especially with Super Saiyan 4. People can say, well, how are you going to do the hair? Well, you made Super Saiyan 3 Goku's no matter what. So it doesn't really matter what you make Super Saiyan 4. You can copy off Vegeta's giant mullet, or you can go with Goku's 80s rockstar hair. But, I mean, just take black hair and extend it more. Or if they have a specific color to their hair, you could do it that way. I'm just saying, I'm giving ideas to no one right now because... but I'm sure... Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. Like, please... comment down below if you think I'm wrong, or if you think there's a better way, or if you've got a better idea. I want to hear it. I want you to be able to tell me if you've got a better idea to make the transformations better. And yes, for the ones that play as Majin characters, let me go ahead and just be on your side on this one. For Majin characters, your characters have the ability, or should have the ability, to absorb. It should be absorbing anyone. Like Budokai 3. I always reference this one because I'm not saying Tenkaichi was bad. I just wasn't a fan of it, or Ultimate Tenkaichi, and all the games that followed after that. Budokai 3 was a good standard for me because even though it was what it was for the time, it explained all the powers for the most part. When you got to play as Super Buu, one of your ultimate was absorption. And you could absorb, Gohan, Piccolo, or Gotenks, and you became them, or had their powers rather, with the costume that they were wearing, and you get their abilities. Well, why can't the Majins have that now? That would add a brilliant suggestion. So no matter what map you're on, a character will be there. And actually, here's the fun part: you can make it randomized. Because you're a create your own character Majin, you can go to any map and the character that you absorb will be randomized. So you could get Trunks, you could get Goku, you could get Vegeta or Gogeta. Like you always get a chance to get a new character. You could be able to make a Shinron for all I know, but I know the transformation has to resemble the person that you absorbed. At least I can guess that much. But that's a way you can do it. That's actually a really cool way. I would love to see that. That would make me want to create a Majin character just for that reason. And I stuck with Xenoverse on this one because this is a recent game, and this is what I'm gonna start doing when I'll be talking about other things when I go solo, when I'm here without my co-host. I will absolutely talk about other things, but there will be sometimes when I get on here and I go and I talk solo to you guys that we're going to talk about recent games. We're going to talk about the recent shortcomings that it had versus what we got versus what we want, or what we wanted in this case. There's quite a few out there, and there's a lot to talk about on that note. But Xenoverse is our topic for today, and I think that has a lot to be desired because there's quite a few that I know. Where's this? Where's that? Why wasn't this fixed? And I agree. And if you don't agree, if you think the game is perfect, then you may not. That's fine. You may not have a bias. You may not. I'm not biased. You may not have an opinion on it, and that's fine. And for those of you who just don't play the game at all, or think this was a absolute waste of time, granted. Think about this for a second. This is not. I use Xenoverse as an example, and for those of you who don't play the game or don't have it, first off, I appreciate you sticking in there and listening to what I have to say on the matter. But this is a call out that goes not just to Xenoverse. This goes out to all the games that shortchanged us, and I'll talk about those games. But Xenoverse was the recent one because it just came out with its Ultra Pack. This is a new thing, a new direction that they're going in, so we don't know what to expect. But we'll find out, and hopefully we're going to see a new era of gaming soon. And I'm not trying to be all over the place and changing subjects, but that's really what we got to focus on as a gaming community for everyone that holds a controller or uses a mouse. And I'm biased towards my Xbox. And I'm sticking to that. But for everyone that holds a controller, I think we're all on the same side when we know that our companies need to get better when it comes to their content, their quality, and stop focusing so much on the quantity. Like, instead of just trying to get out as many copies and sell as many copies, work on the final project. Work on the final ending result. Because your end result's what's going to define your game. It's gonna show, is this game playable still? Can you go back and replay it again? Kind of tying it into how I started this off with Knights of the Old Republic, I can still go on my Xbox and play Knights of the Old Republic, the first and the second one. The second one had so much content cut out, but I can go back and play it anytime. Its replay value to me is very high. And I know I'm biased towards the game because, like I said at the beginning, I love that era. But that is a game I can go back to over and over again. And look how old the game is. Recently, I re-downloaded on Steam the Empire at War game. And anyone of you that didn't play this game, you're missing out. It is so much fun. Because I used to play this growing up when I first got my very first laptop. And I had the disc and everything, but Empire at War is a relatively old game, and it has aged very well. Now I know we're in the era of laptops that have laptops and CPUs and everything under the sun that have these high quality graphics, like graphics that put consoles to shame and everything. But for me, what console game? And I'm sure someone's going to be out there and be like, well, there's always this game. Easy there, calm down. I'm saying, what other console game lets you control a whole not Starfleet, but a whole fleet of Star Destroyers, sending waves of fighters at your enemies, taking out a space station using said Star Destroyers, or if you're the Rebellion, if you really want to go that route, and use your Mon Calamari ships, but building a Death Star and blowing up planets, invading the planets with the forces that you build and conquering stuff. That is a cool game. And it has aged so well. And people have modded it and have updated the graphics on it. Nothing official, of course, but that game aged well. We need to get back on the subject matter with these companies. We need to get them back into making the games that have great replay value. Start focusing on what made games work in the past. We're not saying you have to regress or retrace your steps, but find out your roots. And get back to that. Don't keep remaking the same old stuff over and over again. If you're gonna remake it, make it worthwhile. Give us a reason to jump in and take a look at it, and give us, give us what we're asking for. We're your consumer. You may be a company and you may be passionate about whatever project that you're making, and I respect that. I respect you for your passion behind wanting to do that. But it means nothing. It means nothing if your consumer doesn't like it. Trust me, I'd like to create a game myself based on my standards and what I think is a good game. But it means nothing if the people who play it don't like it. Everyone, your biggest thing right now, and I've asked a lot of people, everyone wants to tell their own story. That's one section. It's a huge section, but they still agree that we need more the single player games where there's a complex story, there's a complex character, we get a little lore in the background. There's a lot there to be desired when it comes to the first player campaign that we've lacked so often in these past few years because it's all been multiplayer driven. And we're slowly but surely getting back into that, and hopefully we're going to acknowledge that very soon. But the other half, the part that I really wanted to mention, is the people that want to tell their own story, which is why Xenoverse, people go back to Xenoverse. When there's a new pack that comes out, people want to jump on there and give their character what they can't have. Because it's like, hey, that's my character. I made him in the embodiment of what I see, what I want my character to be. Like, if I want my character to be a Saiyan, I want him to be able to go Super Saiyan, I want him to have these powers. And that goes with any game with any character creation. When you're playing Skyrim or Fallout, you're making a character that is your own. You're telling your story. But if you give us the story that we're supposed to follow, but you give us nothing in return to make our own, like, it's like, hey, I want to go here, and then the game tells you can't go here because that's not a place you can go. Why not? Why can't you make that okay for me? You have no problem opening every door, every window in game for people who play Fortnite or, Apex Legends, or anybody that just plays those battle royale games where every place is a hiding spot, every place is a door opening. And I know when you're playing like a game like Battlefield, whether you're playing the first one, the Battlefield 5, whatever the case may be, you know that every door can open up to a new spot, a new area, but you're confined to a space where it's not an open world, so to speak. But we need more of that. We need more of this is my character, this is my story. We need more. We want more. Go out and bring us what we're asking for. We'll still play your game. We'll give it every chance imaginable. But if you fail and you're trying to resuscitate a dead game by giving us something like, quick side note, with Fallout 76, I think it was really sleazy after you failed these people so many times with your duffel bag that you're supposed to give them with all these special things, and it looked like a trash bag that you gave everyone. That's insulting. And then you give them this mediocre game that you said was cutting edge, looks great, plays great, and it had so many problems. And I'm not saying your game was, no game is without its glitches, but your game fell short in so many realms. But then you create some patch notes and everyone comes running back, and you act like nothing happened. On top of that, you add in a new feature, which everyone's hoping you're going to say, we opened a new door, we fixed this. And instead you're like, we gave you a battle royale. So you're telling me your answer to fix these problems is throw on an old Johnny Cash song, but make it updated so it's not even Johnny Cash, and you put it in the same era as Fallout, and you give us a battle royale. Like, that is the opposite of what a lot of people ask for. But you know what? The people will buy into it because they're going to come back. And I'm not trying to say we're all suckers, but we tend to be. I still go back to Xenoverse, even though I know there's problems, so I guess you can call me a hypocrite on this, but I go back to Xenoverse when there's new content, because I want to try out the new stuff. But I know that the new stuff will eventually come to a close. So, to wrap up my little soapbox, we know what we want, and we're waiting for it. What we get so far has not been what we asked for. And I hope the best for what comes next. But with that being said, by the way, I mentioned Apex Legends, not narking on the game. Actually, I think it looks very, very competitive. It looks cool. It looks smooth. And speaking of which, one of our only, I should say, I make it sound like we have a whole team here. Our editor, TCC Emerald, plays Apex Legends. He's actually really good. He's uploaded his second video onto YouTube. You should really check him out. A link will be somewhere on the video that you can click on to go check out his channel. Subscribe to him. Take a look at it. You won't be disappointed. If you find him on Apex Legends, challenge him. I dare you. Or because I don't think you're going to come out alive. But check him out. Really cool. And on top of that, while you're checking him out, take some time out of your day and go check us out on Instagram and Twitter, where I'm doing the best I can with Twitter. I'm gonna update that the best way I can, and Josh will take care of the Instagram. But all the links will be in the description below. I appreciate you guys for hanging in there and joining me today on this episode. And, well, I think that about wraps it up. Check out the links down below. And thank you all for listening to The Broken Spectrum. I'm your host, Zach. See you later.